I hear a lot of talk from you guys about morality based on mutual human respect and freedom, and yet there also seems to be some judgment in this room, judgment of religion, judgment of different social systems and ways of thinking. And my question is, if freedom is to be the basis of morality, isn't it sort of hypocritical to say that there is a right and a wrong way to think? And I am playing devil's advocate here. I am an atheist, but that's my question.
I think we should probably let
real quick.
just start real fast.
Sure,
and
real
then
quick.
move into Paul. Yeah.
Let me answer your question in this way. If we honestly believe that we need to replace combative social relations with more human social relations, we could start right here. And one of the ways that we could start right here is when someone, and I'm not talking about me now, when someone in the audience raises a question or makes a statement that seems wrong or ridiculous to the majority of those present, laughter is not the proper response. Neither is combat. The fact is, we need to dialogue. We need to embrace one another, and we need to take each other seriously. No one, scientist, Marxist, no one has a monopoly on the truth. No one has a monopoly on rationality. We're just not that smart. I think philosophy teaches that. Philosophy teaches humility. And so, you know, that's the way I would answer your question. I mean, I actually think you could start right here and right now.
It's true, you know, because as I said before, reality is infinite and it's infinitely changing. But that does not mean that there's not different methods for engaging reality, and that there's not harm in religion and metaphysics and superstition. And then there's an objective criterion, there's a method of science that is actually, again, with religion you have might makes right to sort out differences. And any amount of dialogue, I'm sorry, there are people with religious lunatic beliefs, fascistic beliefs who are in the White House, they're in the officer corps of the military, they are bombing people in Iraq saying it's God's will, and there are people being mobilized to fight back. This is not just a conversation.
But you...
hang on a second. You do want to conversate,
no,
so let me speak.
You're right. Go ahead. That's all right.
As for the question of, and I think that it's a form of contempt, Avakian makes this argument very strongly. It's a form of contempt for people, not a form of respect, to not challenge them when they're wrong, and when the ways in which they're wrong are harmful to them and to humanity as a whole. It's a form of respect. There is nobody on this planet, and there's not a section of people who are too oppressed or too ignorant or anything like this to come to understand reality and think scientifically, but it's not going to happen if it's not fought for. And there's a difference between fighting for people to take up science and take up engaging the world and changing the world, and you know, people always ask me, well, how is it you're evangelizing for atheism? Well, yes, in the sense that I will boldly go on debate anybody, take all comers. I have no fear of what will be emerged there, but no in the sense of, if I'm wrong, you can challenge me and we can sort it out. And I want to challenge you to deal with reality. There's a different method. Evangelizing asks people in religious sense to believe things that aren't true and not to question them, and to actually be afraid of questioning them. And there's a different method, and one is actually going to enable humanity to come together. And I'll say this, science does not, obviously, science does not have a morality. And you're right, science has been used to produce weapons of mass destruction. It is involved in the kind of horrors I'm talking about, the war in Iraq, all of this, and it's been used for very positive purposes. But science is just science. It doesn't have a morality. It doesn't have a good or bad in it. But how we use it is actually, in this society, we live in a capitalist society, and what gets funded? Weapons production. What gets funded? Weapons research. You go to the institutions of higher learning, and you see what gets resources in this society and what doesn't. Okay? You get... I don't want to go on too long about this, but this is shaped by the production relations and the interests of who rules. But I'll say this about science, is without materialism, without an understanding of the real world, you cannot come up with a morality that corresponds to emancipation. With science, it does not guarantee that you can do that, but you actually have the basis to solve those questions. And a perfect example is the people who thought they were doing something moral and voted against Prop 8 and gay marriage in California, and if people actually had an understanding of what that meant, including for large numbers of black people who voted for it, if they understood that scientifically, they would have had the basis to make a much more moral decision. And that's the relationship. Science can tell you what is and what can be. It cannot answer the questions of ought. There's a bigger discussion of this in the book. But without science, you're only going to get it wrong when it comes to morality.
Yeah, good job, you guys. This is amazing.